seen that Fallout show?
Oh, bro.
Is it good? Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn.
I love it. All right. Let us. All right.
Anyone works.
Anyone wants that? That's what happens when you don't have a full crew to do everything. Go ahead and check.
Check.
There you go.
Checking 1, 2.
All right. You ready?
Yeah.
3, 2. Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the BODP with myself here, X. I have someone here in the studio that I have known since I was a kid. My mom actually used to babysit him. For the years that I've been doing the podcast, I think the funniest thing that I talk about the most is authenticity and like how I grew up and a lot of things that have helped me develop the skills that I have that make me fortunate enough to work with the people I do. And I have mentioned this dude quite a few times, but actually to be like sitting here while he's guest spotting is not only like it's an honor, but it's a trip because you get to go down memory lane of where time has lied. This dude was the whiplash to my drumming. This dude was one of the best people when it came to like storytelling and music, and then also in art and just persevering and being like, if you're gonna be about it, be about it. And I feel like when you have the thing that my dad would say a lot, which was, respect the old gods and welcome the new. You have to adapt to new things that come your way, but always know where you came from. And I can honestly say, aside from the great man himself, R.C. Kelly, that has been a huge influence in my life, the other one that would be the yin to the yang of that has helped me be who I am today is none other than the man in front of me known as Eddie Zavala.
Hey, thanks for having me, man.
Hey, what's going on, brother?
Hey, just trying to live the dream, make it happen.
Older and bolder, my dude.
Yeah.
So, how have you been, dude?
Doing great, man. Just living up in Rough and Ready by Nevada City, and me and my friend and coworker Corey Norris and Mike Burns, we opened up a new shop called Dark Water Collective. And before that, Corey had a shop, a Classic Tattoo in Grass Valley. That's where I worked at for like 10 years with him, and we've been at 2 years at this new one. And just it's going great, man.
You, as long as I remember, when did you start first getting into tattooing, like an apprenticeship?
I've always drawn. I've always had the drawing. A lot of comic book art, drawing heavily and stuff, and I started getting tattooed when I was 18, but I wasn't that fucking cocky to be like, hey, I can draw. I think I'll be able to tattoo. I didn't think that way, man.
Yeah.
But, I was getting tattooed and then became friends with tattooers, in Monterey and Salinas, and, I started, became friends with some of these guys through music.
Yeah.
And play, our bands would play together, and I'd stop by at the shops they worked at, and the specific one was Broken Art, Jeremy Swan.
Yeah.
And I'd stop by, and they can tell he could tell that I was like into it, and he was like, hey, come check out what I'm working on. Kind of gave me a behind the scenes, and just how he goes on about like prep and stuff, and that's when I was like, I think I can do this and really enjoy it. Like, this is something completely different that I want to learn now, and that just sparked the interest.
Well, we talked about it earlier because we haven't really seen each other in quite a long time.
Yeah, it's been a while.
And the idea of, like, we grew up in a small town called King City, California, and we were reminiscing earlier over lunch about how just the idea of, like, the 80s and 90s at the time were very specific time that the scene for music, for art, there was a lot of creative people coming out at that time. There was a lot of heavy influences from, like, we talk about when all the old bands would come through the 101 that were starting these big scenes, and how big the Chicano culture was on. Like, there's nothing to do, so they want to go to the VFW and they want to go here and there. Yeah. And like, you were one of the proponents along with Felix and a bunch of other guys that really kind of pushed that.
Felix Lozano and Eddie Rios and stuff like that. I was going to shows to watch them.
Yeah, really?
You know, I was like 11, and I was like going to the VFW hall, you know, having my dad drop me off like fucking, you know, 900 feet away from the venue because I didn't want people to see me getting dropped off, you know, and you know, I was gonna go, I was going to see them play, you know, and you know, I got really into like punk rock and metal, you know, around that age, you know, and I was going to these shows along with Edgar Rios, you know, because his brother was Eddie, you know, and he was playing in Chances Are and stuff, and you know, and then that's when I was like, man, I want to play some music, I want to do this.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's where it becomes interesting, right? Because you and I share a trait of where you had a really big passion for music and you became very well at it. Like to this day, you're probably one of the top bass players I know.
Thanks,
and
man.
guitar players that, like, as a musician, I remember when we were 11 or 12, it was Peter, it was Jules and myself in a little cuartito, like a storage room. And
I remember
that little room.
That little shed. Yeah.
That little shed. Well, it was a shed underneath an apartment. Like, these poor people upstairs that were listening to guys like,
ruido que están haciendo. Nos van a matar.
and it was just one of the funniest things of, we were recording on a Mickey Mouse record, a recorder where it had the little tape and the little microphone. We put a bunch of pillows into this little tiny fucking nook thing that I guess my mom had, and we were playing, and it was terrible, man. And I had sticks that were tongue depressors that were painter taped up, and you were like, oh bro. And then Julian, you got to do this. Peter, you got to do that. And it was crazy because you were the standard for us, because like Mr. Graham, our music teacher that we both shared, Mr. Graham was a guy that, if anyone has seen J.K. Simmons in Whiplash, he was like that. He cared about you. He cared about music. He cared about skill. Oh, yeah. You said that he used to say something earlier.
Yeah, it was like practice makes bad habits, you know, and perfect practice makes perfect, you know. And you know, he just like showed that, you know, and you know, he loved you when you loved what you were doing, you know, and
you felt terrible when you fucked up.
Oh yeah, he let you feel it, man. You know, he would give you that look of disapproval, you know, like, what are you doing? You're fucking better than this. What are you doing?
Yeah, we were talking about when somebody would fuck up and he would put his glasses down, it would get super quiet. He was the one teacher that had you for when you were young till you were older.
Like you knew what he was saying just by the look.
Oh yeah, everybody. I remember cholo kids, or the wannabe cholo kids that would cut off all the fingers from their gloves and be like, "Fool, that's how you leave fingerprints. That's not the point of the gloves." and even those kids that would make it so difficult for like Belby or Holcomb, all the teachers that were rough, they would never challenge Graham because he just had this presence. And it was a thing that you needed at that age of like, what the fuck are you doing, man? And I feel like that is where it came in with you, because when you came to us, you're like, there's music and then there's like good music. There's punk rock and then there's good punk rock. Hector, which is the singer for your band Los Dryheavers, shout out to him, Felix, Corey, and of course the amazing fucking
Flo.
No, not Flo. Well, yeah, Flo too, of course, Flo, but just the family of the Heavers, because like you guys were a unit that you guys have always been something like everybody from the old school hangouts and the friends that would see every show. Like, it was a community. It was a very tight knit thing that I appreciated. But Hector, when I filled in for Flo when he had stepped back for a little while, told me something I'll never forget, and it was the same thing that you hold a stat or two, where he goes, just because you play punk rock doesn't mean you have to be a shitty musician, dude. And it was like this aha moment, because you really wanted to try. You weren't there to just play punk. You were a jazz guy. You were a ska guy. You were a Latin guy. Whatever felt good, felt good. And Graham really responded and respected people who could feel more than could just read.
I mean, sure, he let me play bass for the jazz band without knowing how to read music.
Yeah.
You know, he loved that I played by ear. You know, and you know, like when he, you know, asked me, like, you know, like, hey, like, you know, you want to play in jazz band? And I was like, yeah, I don't know how to read music. It's like, that's okay. Like, he liked that.
Right.
You know, because, and he told me, he was like, you're going to get a more soulful feel, you know, because you love doing what you're doing. So, you know, if we're covering a song, he would, you know, if it was on a record or a CD, he would just play it for me, you know, or he'd record it for me. And he's like, just listen to this, put your own spin on it. You know, he loved that. There was that like punk rock spin, or, you know, that ska, you know, like, you know, I was playing in stub during that time period. And you know,
let's go back really quick. Cause the point I was going to make is, it was hard because I feel like you went through something or we both went through the one thing, but you definitely first. But the idea of you go from a world where you're really fucking good at something, and you're not just good because you think you're good because you work for it, and then you see someone way better than you, and rather than bitching or trying to gloat about it, you're like, hey man, what are you doing? Can I learn?
It's like, I want to incorporate some of that into what I'm doing, you know, like not fucking rip it off, but, you know, just get a vibe for it, you know, like, hey, that works.
And then you get into art and tattooing, and then you're not the best at it, and you're back to square one, and it's almost like a real big ego blow to a lot of people, especially when you're younger and you're dumber because you're trying to figure it out. My favorite thing from working at Indian Ink back in the day was one of the guys goes to me and he goes, hey, you're like a rock and roll guy, huh? And I was like, yeah, dude, sure. And he goes, hey, you play guitar? And I was like, a little bit, not really. And he goes, cool, play guitar on this. And he hands me a broom. He goes, go sweep over there.
So jam on this thing, fucking rock star.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, como va. Yeah. But so where before we get to that, where does Eddie start as a kid going to shows? Because the scene in our area was really popping like when you were younger.
Yeah, so like I said, like, you know, when I got into like the punk rock music, you know, and that was through hanging out with Edgar, you know, and you know, then you know, hanging out with his older brother Eddie Rios, that I ended up playing in stub with.
Right.
But you know, he would record me stuff. Like, he saw me like digging the music, you know, like he's you know, like my younger brother's friend loves this stuff, so he'd record me like mixtapes with like Bad Religion, Descendants, you name it, you know, and I was just like loving it. And then we started going to the shows, you know, because he was already Eddie was already playing Chances Are, you know, and you know, the love for it just like kept growing, you know, and I was like, I want to play music, you know. And I was a troublemaker at school, you know. I got expelled from San Lorenzo school, 7th grade. And my dad had to go talk them back, and you know, talk them into letting me back in. And he was just like, I don't know what to do with you. So I'll buy you a guitar if you just finish 8th grade.
Really?
Yeah. And I was just like, fuck, he'll get me a guitar. He never wants to get me anything. You know, he wouldn't even get me Transformers, dude. I'd get fucking Welfare GoBots, dude. You know? Well, can I get G.I. Joe? I was like, no, you get fucking Army Corps. 10 of these fucking things come in a pack, you know? For the price of 2 G.I. Joes. And I was like, dude, come on, man. You know, GoBots, dude.
The Puglia specials and shit?
Yeah, exactly. I was like, dick. So when he was like, I'll buy you a guitar. But I wanted a bass. And so, you know, I finished 8th grade. He gave my brother, my older brother, money. He's like, go get him what he wants, you know. And we drove up to Showcase in San Jose. Mm-hmm. And I bought an Epiphone bass.
Really?
You know? Yeah, and started jamming on it, you know. And I'd go over to Eddie's house, and, you know, he'd like teach me the ropes. First song he taught me was fucking Stepping Stone. Mm-hmm. You know, the Minor Threat version. Yeah. You know, Stepping Stone. You know, so, you know, I started off like that, but then I was like listening. I wanted to play like the songs that I was listening to. And then shortly after, you know, like when I got into Rancid, I was like, I want to play with like this guy. You know, I see all my friends, you know, they're admiring this dude, and they love the bass, and it just sounds like fun. So I started like learning Rancid songs, man.
Because I remember, so you were born what year?
79.
Okay, so we're 10 years apart. Mm-hmm. So like by the time you guys had
and our birthday was 7 days apart, or
eight days apart,
yeah,
and then Pete's right after you.
Yep.
And so it's funny because I remember going to so Peter, for context, is your nephew.
Yep.
That is my age. Julian, also known as AKA Jules, is also He's one of our friends, and we all grew up with each other. We ended up playing with each other in bands, and the music. I remember we had this. I had talked about with JD Chavez, one of my cousins, and Cesar, his younger brother, that was our age.
I remember JD.
He would make a bunch of fucking CD compilations. And the old Memorexes and Goldfinger, 88 Fingers Louie, fucking Descendants, and we were like blown away. And it was funny because my favorite band still to this day is the Descendants. Like Bill is one of my favorite drummers, and
I got to actually tour with him.
Really?
Yeah, when he played drums in Only Crime.
Oh shit!
Yeah, because Russ Rankin who was singing for Only Crime. He owned Lorelei Records that we're on, and we did a tour with Only Crime and Riverboat Gamblers. You know, I remember, dude, we had to like hold our fucking geekiness in. You know, we just wanted to geek out on Bill Stevenson.
Bill.
And at the end, we totally did. He's like, you are fucking Bill Stevenson. You played in fucking Black Flag, all Descendants, and he was just like,
yeah, he's my dick sucking lines over there, boy. No, I feel like that was where a lot of my playing style, like if I've played with you, and a lot of my style is very Bill-esque because it's a lot of swing and flow to it, as he does. And
that guy makes it look easy, man.
Oh, 100%. Man. And beast of a dude. Beast of a dude in general, especially like the Descendants documentary is one of my favorites. That
the Filmage?
Filmage one, yeah. Fucking Mark Hoppus, that fucking company, dude.
Got to see a private screening of that up in Nevada City.
I get you know.
Yeah, because Bill Stevenson, one of his best friends, Greg Cameron, who I played in a band with for a while when I first moved up to Nevada City.
Yeah.
He does PA work. He does sound for this place called the Miners Foundry, and he put it together, and like we're able to see like filmage, like early on. You know, it was super cool, and the guys that worked on it were there and got to do like Q&A and stuff. It was really awesome.
I feel like that's part of what ties into the whole thing of with being with Julian and Peter. You were always a guy who was very thorough, you know, like you and projects you did, you were very passionate about stuff in a way that I respected, because like RC always was very much like, I don't care. I'll play video games. I'll do this. I'll do that. But when you got alone with him and you really saw him drawing, dude does nothing but draw. When he came to guest spot before,
he's awesome, man. I dig his work.
Yeah, he's fucking phenomenal. But like when he was here with Taylor last, we were sitting down and talking about snakes for 20 minutes, and he was like, "What do you not seem to get about like the new traditional stuff?" Because I was asking for help, and I was like, "I have a problem with this kind of flow," and he goes, "You know how to do banners? What the fuck's wrong with you?" And he just changed one little line in my thing, and he goes, "There you go. Now draw it this way, draw it that way," and just nerding out over things that were like the real thing that made you a great bass and guitar player, a musician in general, was. It's not the time you spent on a bass, it's the time you spent listening to what makes a great bass, makes a great musician, a storyteller, all these things. And then comes the applying it. You know, we've talked about it before. When you came this morning, I told you about that one apprentice trying to get a job, and they were, well, you know, I've been doing this for such long, and it's like, oh, you know, I don't question your hard work. I question your work ethic. I know a lot of people that buy all the basses in the world, all the drums, all the tattoo machines and the needles, and they're like, nothing's working. It's like, because you don't want it. You don't care. You care about having things and it looking cool, but Matt Freeman,
it's almost like for clout or something. You know?
I think half of it, yes, you want the recognition of people because you've never had it, but I think the other half of it has to be that like, if you were never going to make another dollar in your life, would you still be an artist? Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. You know, it's like, you know, I was drawing when I was a kid just because I wanted to do it.
Yeah.
You know, like, I'll keep doing that.
And even though because I think this is a really good example of how I remember you as a teenager, which was when you threw a stick past me. You got to go and do this. You weren't trying to hit me. You were just the idea of like, it's serious, bro. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, but in my head, rather than being like a victim, I was like, no, how am I? Because exactly what you told me was, how are you going to play drums if you can't hold a stick, dude? You got to hold it. And you were trying to like be funny in the sense of throwing it,
Yeah.
and it stuck in the wall. And I was like, ooh, I'm going to tell my mom.
Vas a ver, cabrón. You're being a dick.
But I mean, how funny that in one world you can be the victim and be like, well, you're just being mean to me. Versus like in the other way, it's like, you know what? He's got a point, dude. How am I going to do anything that I like from the Descendants or from Ray Charles or from this person when I'm looking at their music and hearing it? How am I going to do that if I can't even fucking start? And you were very good at always being like, hey, man, this is Rancid. They had brought this CD over and they got it from you guys, and it was fucking Maxwell Murder. And Julian just being like, he can play Maxwell Murder. Oh my God, he can play it. We were like, what the fuck? Holy shit.
Fucking solo. Bing, 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 bing.
Yeah, you would play it, and then you'd be like, yeah, that's cool, bro. And then like walk away, and we were like,
You're like Sloth from Goonies. You're, oh, baby. Baby.
Oh man. But I mean, like that was part of it. So you started playing bass first. What drove you to bass? Out of guitar, because usually everyone goes for a guitar.
Right, yeah. I don't know, I felt like there was too many guitar players, man.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to play bass, and not because oh, it's probably easy or anything. Like, I was just drawn to it, just from like the music I was listening to, and bass players I was listening to, like RKL, also, and then like No Effects, I don't know. I guess because it's just the backbone, and I probably just sensed that, like I just kind of knew or something, and I remember like playing bass and stub, and like the drummer when James Moore joined us, he was like 9 years older than me, and he was the older guy, and he played in Psychosomatic and stuff, so he had like skills, dude, and I remember like we practicing, and I look over at him, he's like looking at me, and he looks kind of like almost like angry, he's like, and it was because we're locked in.
Yeah.
I was like just naturally just complimenting like what he was doing.
Yeah.
And it was almost like he was trying to like, it felt like he was trying to throw me off with stuff, and I was just like locking in, like I knew what he was gonna do, and it was just like tight. It was just like really tight rhythm,
Yeah. It's a language. I I think that's the hard part. Is we were talking about people that don't. I forgot how you worded it, but it was people that have never been held accountable.
Yeah. When they're finally held accountable, they feel like persecuted.
Yeah, I really loved you saying that, because I can name quite a few people, including myself when I was younger, that I feel like, fuck, man, like that's such a true statement. And music, like art, is a very accountable thing. Like I always say that art is easy to fake. Music is not, because you could be the most tone deaf person in the entire world, and you'll hear somebody play something and immediately be like, that doesn't sound good.
Yeah, the tape doesn't lie, dude.
Yeah, it doesn't.
No.
But with art, people say art is subjective. I believe that art is absolute, style is subjective. You love things that are more this way, and I like things that are more this way. That's a preference, and that is subjective. But like, we can both look at a tattoo and be like, that's and that's where I feel like art itself can be mimicked, but it is definitely not subjective when it comes to like solidness. Music wise, like you said, the tape doesn't lie. You've always been that type where you're like, no, dude, we gotta get it down. Like, again, you've seen the filmage when fucking Bill is in the fishing boat. Oh, bro, it's gonna capsize. Oh, that is a real mindset of not just being accountable, but you know how to read other players. And the only way you get better at language, or like I was talking on the last pod with Joseph, is excuse me, is having a good comprehension, like having a good ability to communicate. I can't communicate the way you do if I don't practice to your level. And if we both are a level 5, but we feel we're a level 10, that doesn't do anything. The Dunning-Kruger effect we talked about on the last pod was when people start, like musicians, it's usually what it's used for, but it's anybody in an artistic endeavor. But when you start something, you get good at, I don't know, like plucking a bass, like a cherry pop. Me doing doubles on a drum pad. fuck yeah, bro, I'm the best. Fucking watch out, bro.
Right. Triplets, you're next.
Yeah, exactly. You better fucking watch your back. And then all of a sudden you're terrible, and you realize when you actually really try, you hit what's called the valley of despair. And in that valley of despair, that can be months to years because you don't really feel like you're at your peak. And most musicians and artists stay there, but it's not that they're unhappy. It's like, fuck, dude, where the fuck is it? And then one day it fucking clicks. And that's where the ascension of the Kruger effect happens. And you're like, oh shit, how did I not see that? But you've learned to comprehend and speak better. And that takes time, that takes effort. But I do think if you do not have a passion for it,
an intent, we've talked about this before, where it's like, I think having intent, good intent in what you do. I know I'm sounding like Buddhist and stuff,
no,
but
it's
I
good,
believe in
though.
that shit.
Yeah.
It's like when you have good intent, and it's, that's when the good things happen.
Yeah. I never played music personally because I cared if people like. That's I think always been one of the roughest things with me as a musician is I just want to play because I like all genres, right? If I was in a dating group and I'd be a swinger because you're like, what the fuck is this guy doing?
Yeah, I wasn't just listening to punk growing up. One of my big influences too is so one of my favorite movies is The Blues Brothers.
Yes.
And that band is so fucking good. Like Donald Duck Dunn, dude, on bass, dude. Oh my god, dude! All those covers they do, it's just better than the originals because those musicians, all of them are just amazing, dude. And that rhythm section is nuts. And whenever I just watched them, like I bought the soundtrack, and I played along with the soundtrack, because Donald Duck Dunn is awesome. Awesome bass player,
Well, Cab Calloway is like in the beginning of it. Ray Charles, because my dad is a huge Ray Charles fan. That was a huge thing for me where
there's nothing wrong with this piano.
It breaks my heart to see these children go crooked. But
as a matter of fact, I'll throw in the Black Keys for free. It's one of my favorite lines, dude.
I'll never forget. We played a gig. It was so the band was called the Riot Society. For those obviously who don't know. Now a really known clothing brand. It's weird to see that from Santa Cruz. They're called the Riot Society.
Oh, no, really?
Yeah, but it was Julian, Peter, and myself, and we were playing, I think, a Fresno show one day, and Jules goes up to the mic, and we had the intro and everything, and Peter and Julian.
Is that when he got shocked?
Huh? Yes. and I just remember, you start playing and boom down, boom down, boom down, and then it goes to a break before the first song, and he goes, "We're the good old boys," and then fucking do the entire first song. We're not the good old boys, and like rolling. Oh man, but I mean, a lot of the stuff that we grew up on, I really feel, because talking to RC about it, we're all from the same area. There had to, like, I love the idea of when it comes to how we grew up in such a small town, because King City was so much smaller back then. You stand right next to Lynn's Liquors and you can see all four ends of town.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's wild, dude. Yeah, Broad Street.
Nothing.
That's broad.
And
that was the highway in the old days.
Yeah. And I remember my dad having photos of all that when my uncle used to have San Antonio Liquors.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Back in the day, and there's a photo of me in all those baseball cards that we have in the front. Those are all from the original store.
Really?
Yeah, that's all from the original store. He just had it. He had it in storage and was like, "Hey, could you just help me move them?" So that's all from the 80s and 90s back when we were kids. And what I think about the most is the perspective someone gave me a while back of it. Don't think of a small town having nothing to do, but think of it as nothing in your way. Yeah. And it's amazing,
dude,
how
we didn't have a record store, dude. You know how we got our records? Village TV, dude.
Really?
They had catalogs. It was the TV repair place, dude, on the corner right there on Broadway, and I can't remember that street. Like,
by what?
I think it was across the street from Bertelli's.
Holy shit! Yeah,
Village TV, dude. Like,
R.I.P. Bertelli's, by the way.
yeah, like we found out that they had catalogs, and we would order them, and it would take like weeks.
Yeah,
you know, but we'd like, you know, like tapes were like $5-6, dude, and they'd come in, you know, and then like whenever like people that we thought were posers, when their stuff would come in, we're like, oh yeah, my stuff's here, and they'd be like, is this yours? I'm like, yeah, right there, like that stuff. You just buy it, dude. It's like, fuck that guy.
Fucking Sal Rios is on, where's my tapes?
Shut up, fucking nerd. His brother Eddie would make him listen to Rush albums too. He was like into it, dude, because he thought we were like listening to Rush.
Oh, really? I remember getting a Catch-22 CD from Sal, because he used to date one of my cousins, Rosie, and we were hanging out one day, and I remember we were chilling and bullshitting. And I mean, to this day, dude, I love Sal. He's a genuinely fucking great person. Yeah. And one of the funniest dudes.
I've known him since he was like 3, dude.
Yeah, we all have the same humor. We all have the same fucked up humor of when it's like, man, what was it that he said one time? It was like, somebody was like, I'm going through a divorce, and like, fuck, bro, so she's single? And, you know, like, there's no...
A rat.
There's no fucking room.
It's kind of what I say to people. I'm going through a divorce.
So is she... Are we cool, or... I feel like that was a huge reason why there were so many great artists that came out of where we were at, because you said it too, there was a lot of potential. And the thing is, you know, what did you do with your downtime? You know, what did you do with having to be nowhere? And it's like, well, I did music, I did art, I did things that captivated me. I had no idea. There was somebody I went to school with that had mentioned at the Motel 6, they were having coke and orgy parties. And like,
what?
When we were in high school. And I was like, who the fuck?
I missed that.
The thing was, it's like, how the fuck was this going on? Like, yeah, dude. And then when we all graduated, and so obviously everyone's the same age and shit, and you're just, all right, but like, what? And they're like, yeah, dude, like, you were kind of a fucking square, dude. You just had your drum pad. Like, nobody wanted to hang out with you. You know, I was like, yeah, I'm kind of glad though, because I look at half of those dudes now, and I'm like, ooh, that's. No,
I just wanted to play my bass, dude, in high school. You know, after school, I just like take it home, you know, because I would leave it in the music room.
Yeah.
You know, and it's cool because the girls wanted to give me rides home, dude.
Hey.
You know, and then all my friends were like, fucking assholes. Well, they like musicians, I guess, you know.
These fingers do not lie. So you started playing in a band, and then you started. What was the scene like? What was
great,
it like,
dude? It was bumping, you know, like you know, we're having the shows at the VFW hall. When Wind got, you know, when word traveled up to like Santa Cruz, the Santa Cruz bands wanted to play. We had Good Riddance play at the VFW hall in King City, you know, back in the day.
Well, there was a lot of big bands that played in Soledad at the bowling alley.
Right? Yeah. After the fact, like Alkaline Trio opened up for Stub. Dude.
Yeah,
you know, at the bowling alley.
I remember because JD had taken. I was little, dude, and I don't know why I was there, but it was something to do with one of the cousins, and then JD I think was there, and all I remember is I have that tape still from like them selling it, and that's why fucking lame ass still has my
little heart with the skull.
Yeah, I'm all tee.
You're on his boyfriend.
I'm all Matt Skiba. I love you. Oh, but I mean, what a time to be alive, because it wasn't just a scene. It was a genuine revolution and a growth in music. Third wave ska, second wave punk, you know, all these genres, and they were just passing through. Yeah. You know, and kids gave a shit back then.
Yeah, so you know, there was the VFW hall, there was the bowling alley, there was the skate jam.
Yeah.
You know, like I think the Seaside,
mm-hmm.
in San City. Then Eddie Numskull was throwing shows in San Luis Obispo. You know,
the guy who doesn't age.
Right, exactly. And you know, like, you know, we just had our, like, you know, convoys or whatever you want to call it. You know, like we were constantly playing all these places. You know, just back and forth. You know, and it was great. You know, then you know, bands from like Santa Barbara and like San Luis Obispo were, hey, we want to play in your neck of the woods.
Yeah.
You know, like in San Diego, you know, we'd have like freaking Everready, you know, from down there, and
what
coming
year
up to play.
What year did Stub form?
So Stub formed before I even joined.
first and foremost, what does Stub stand for?
Small town ugly bastards.
Hey,
Yeah.
crank
So
it
it's
that
fitting,
fuckers.
fitting. So before I joined, like Mr. Graham's son, Bob
Yeah,
Graham, Robert, he played bass
Oh, really?
for Stub. Yeah, yeah. So the lineup was different, and the sound was different. You know, it was like punk, a little bit of kind of like, I want to say like Felix's cousin Roger sang, and he did like a little bit of like kind of almost like rap. You know, a little bit. You know, it was, and then they'd sometimes get Felix's uncle Javier DJ. They even had a DJ in the band, you know. So, you know, I was seeing them play too, you know, and Eddie that played in Chances Are was also playing in Stub, and so they broke up. Like they just broke up, and but Eddie and Felix wanted to form the band again.
Yeah.
And they were like, "Oh, you know, you're playing bass." You know, but they I'll admit it, man. They had me join because I had the practice spot.
Ah, yeah.
You know, my dad let us use the practice spot. So they're
Was that Peter's room?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So you know, before it was Peter's room, it was just like, you know, we got carpet from like the Sage Hotel and stuff. Hey, you got any carpet getting rid of? You know, and then we used that shit to insulate the fucking garage, dude. It was a mess. It was not like the way you remember Peter's room.
Right.
And you know, it smelled like orines, dude. You know, like pee-pee.
Yeah,
And
culo and patas and shit.
yeah, exactly. Pee-pee and like cooking, you know, like cooking oil and stuff. And so, you know, they had other prospects for bass, but, you know, since I had the practice spot, that was like,
Yeah.
you know, got the thumbs up. And but, you know, I wanted to get good. I wanted to get really good too, you know, and you know, I picked it up really quick, and I was doing ska. All of a sudden, I was playing ska. I went from playing Stepping Stone to playing freaking Mighty Boss Tones, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, it just started forming. You know, we got a drummer, and we ended up getting horn players. And at one point, Stub was an 11-piece band.
God damn. Because when I remember your guys's actual like cassette.
So to answer your question on when it started, I joined like in '94.
Okay. So like, because like Voodoo Glow Skulls and all them had already been around for a few years, and I remember because you guys were the ones that I remember specifically that I had gotten from one of my cousins, and it was just like, yeah, dude, you'd like this shit, and just handed it to me. I was like, and ironically enough, I didn't know that you were in it until it was Pete, you know, that had said something in Jules, and yeah, I think that time when you guys were playing, because we were talking earlier, and you told me a story I didn't even know, that the whole issue with Mad Caddies and Travis Barker and the Aquabats.
Oh yeah. Well, Mad Caddies used to be known as Ivy League.
Yes.
Yeah, we used to play with Aquabats a lot. You know, when Travis was playing drums and stuff, and you know, we'd go down to Santa Barbara and play there. You know, this place called like the Living Room, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'd play shows with them in San Luis Obispo. And you know, one day, I guess Ivy League, you know, they got tired of us main supporting Aquabats, so they told Numbskull like, hey, we want to play third. You know, there's 4 bands, and you know, these Stub always main supports Aquabats. You know?
Right.
It's like, we want that spot now. So Numbskull asks, you know, like, hey, you guys mind playing second? Oh yeah, and, you know, I was like, let me run it by the guys, you know, that way everyone knows and it's all good. So I went up to James, our drummer. I was setting up his drums, and Travis was setting up his right next to him. And I'm like, hey James, I guess Ivy League, they want to, now known as Mad Caddies, they're like, they want to play third. They want our spot. So Numbskull asks us if we can play second. He's like, yeah, that's fine. But Travis just like, he like perked up, and he like looked over at me, and his eyes were bulging, dude. He looked fucking pissed, dude. He fucking walked over. He like gathered up the Ivy League guys. And he's like, you guys are being fucking bitches. He's like, you guys always main support us back home, Santa Barbara. Like, this is their turf. Like, they're fucking gonna main support. Like just shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
You know, like don't change the bill. Like, he was pissed, dude. I was like, whoa, Travis, this dude, Travis Barker, went up to bat for us, and it was just like, you're not changing the bill. Like, you're not messing with these guys.
I made the joke when you told me this, because I was like, God damn, do you ever think that as who would have fucking thunk? Excuse me. I know that he was supposed to be auditioning for Suicide Machines, and then he had thought that he had a phenomenal band.
Yeah, we've got the privilege to play with them too in San Luis Obispo.
Phenomenal fucking band, dude. For anyone that doesn't know, you know, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. If you don't know, then you do know.
Yeah.
But the story goes that he thought he got a girl pregnant, and then eventually he had to cancel that audition, and it ended up with him filling in for Scott for Blink-182. And so in my head, the joke I made earlier to Stax was the fact that as they did this a massive ascent into the pop punk world, like every single time the fucking drummer was like, fucking asshole, fucking piece of shit, he hates me.
Yeah, oh yeah. The drummer, he was crying, dude. He was crying.
Well,
Travis.
I've always known for years that there's just like that's the hard part, right? When you meet a lot of your heroes, you see the severity or the laziness of them. I've met some bands, and I've met some very big people I've respected in the past, and I mean that past tense, where you meet them in private and you're like, you know, I can deal with somebody who is broken, right, in the sense of like we all are to some extent, but I can't deal with people that are victimed, where they don't want to fix anything. And I'm like, cool, dude, I'm sorry you're going through stuff, but like I got a path I want to kind of go on, and are you on or are you off? And I think the hard part with that is like once you're in that music scene, you start seeing where people like from my perspective watching you were this guy who were at like kind of how Hector said it himself, you know, like Hector was like, yeah, dude, you could do this, you could do that, you can do all these things, but you don't have to be a shitty musician. And you carried that really well with a few other people I really looked up to at the time, because they were solid in a band, but solo they couldn't really do anything. You could go and do whatever the fuck you wanted, like you really could. You weren't just good at one thing, and that trickled down over to Pete, Jules, and I, because we wanted to be the best, you know. And it wasn't like I need to be better than you, but it's a very much thing of like, nah, like I got this. Okay, give me 5 minutes, dude, and I'll figure this the fuck out, because now you're at another level, and then you're like, cool, I got that. Now the next level and the next. Right. There is no top. There is no.
Well, there's no end to it.
No. Yeah. And then you started going from Stub. Any other cool venues or people that you've played with over the years? I mean, at that time. At that time,
man, like the list goes on. Like we played a lot of Numbskull shows.
Yeah.
Like, I'm really grateful to Eddie Numbskull, because you know, at the tender age of 15, dude, I got to play with really cool acts. Even played with Jared Leto's band.
Really?
What are they called now? 30 Seconds to Mars. They used to be called Mission to Mars.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was that, and I think he was filming like a movie, like a thriller. His hair was all bleached blonde and stuff. And,
okay.
And yeah, we got to play with his band. That was really cool. Felix kind of bummed them out because we were backstage. He's like, "Orale, the hyenas are here." They got bummed. That's how we thought. Dude, they got bummed. And Jared Leto was just like,
That's
no,
funny.
no.
That's, and
you know.
Here's the thing about you and Felix and the guys, man. You guys are brutal, bro, and in the best way. I feel like if you can't get along with you guys and your humor, because here's the thing, you guys are ball busters to the fucking core. Right. But if someone is down and out, you're like, hey man, what's up? You know, like you've always had each other's
back. It's all fun
back.
and games, dude. You know, and it's like Tracy Morgan said, dude, no one's above being made fun of. You know,
100%. And I feel like that is what I think that's what lacks in a lot of people's ability to be, like you said, accountable. But I also think it's to be better. It's like they can't be vulnerable. They can't be made fun of or anything. It's like, no, dude, like there's a difference between being cruel and just being like an asshole and joking around. Every single buddy that we grew up with was that way. And the funny thing is, people love you for your humor and, oh man, he's a great guy. But when the chips are really fucking down, you take the time, hey man, how have you been? What's going on? And I think a lot of that really speaks to the type of person you are, especially when it comes to art, because you're still that kid that was a fucking asshole, fucking up and trying to do well and do those things, but then you're like, ooh, I can focus on something, and it's holding your attention, right? Like if it wasn't for art itself in all forms that you do and you're very active in,
dude. You said something that kind of like made me think of this, but like, dude, music and art has always been like my self-care. It always has, you know, because without it, I just had nothing, dude. And you know, drawing got me in trouble. I was a pendejo with it, especially in school.
Oh.
You know, but I still wanted to do it. You know, and
What got you in trouble?
just drawing shit, dude. Like drawing on my homework was one.
Oh, okay.
You know, it's just like stop drawing on your like on your work, on the classwork and homework, and,
Right.
You know, and then just like, you know, you can use your imagination. Like I was watching a lot of anime and I was drawing what I was seeing, dude. And then passing it around in class.
Bunch of dudes.
You know, yeah. Of course. And
I got in trouble. I don't know. I don't think you've ever heard the story, but Did you ever remember Mrs. Clay?
Yeah.
Okay, so I had her in first grade, and I was trying to draw RoboCop. I had just seen RoboCop 2, and I was like, "This is the best thing fucking ever."
I think she was my third grade teacher, dude.
I had her for
in Santa Lucia.
Yeah, Santa Lucia. The fucking one. We're all superstars. But I tried to draw RoboCop, and I was trying to draw the chest plate. And so fucking this kid named Rudy Garcia fucking goes, "Hey, he's drawing inappropriate things." So they take me to go see
big old square tits, dude.
fucking Mrs. Sankey, dude. Fucking, I'm in her thing. They call my dad and they call my mom out of work. She comes from Rio. My pops had to come all the way from Carmel. And like it was a whole thing, dude. So I'm sitting there.
You're trying to eat it, dude, like in Superbad. You know?
And I never got the joke of how the guy goes, "Yeah, put a dick in your mouth," because he keeps shoving all the paper in his mouth. But so I'm sitting.
Was your book cover? So it was like a grocery bag.
The fucking Safeway bag. Come on, fucking Fairway. And so I'm sitting there, and the fucking worst thing ever, dude, is I'm fucking sitting there, and Mrs. Sankey is like, "Okay, well, let's understand. Like, why did you draw this?" And I was like,
It's like a psychologist all of a sudden. So I'm gonna pick his brain apart.
Yeah, well, because they wanted to see like what drove me to do it. Because my you knew my parents, not the most
So fucking flashlight in the eyes,
yeah,
dude.
exactly.
Stick your tongue out.
Yeah, exactly. My parents are very chaotic. You know, good people, but they were chaotic, and so, you know, let's just say they started arguing, and well, you know, the office was in a very fucking loud place, so they're going back and forth, and they're like, "Why are you drawing this?" And I'm like, "Well,
they couldn't tell it was RoboCop. Like they didn't do the. Was it like RoboCop without the mask or something?
No, they just didn't. I mean, I was that bad, or that good.
Like that movie was hot, dude.
Not for them.
Like they didn't know RoboCop.
So I immediately was like, "I like this. I draw this because I like it." And then they were like, "Okay, well, but what makes you like this?" Because now they're wondering like, "Where am I getting this from?" I'm like, "My dad showed me this thing, and I like it, and now it makes it worse." And my dad's, "I didn't show you shit."
He's like, "Shut the fuck up."
Yeah, well, you fucking idiot. God fucking damn it. And immediately my mom's like, "What are you showing him, Joseph?" And then it was like, "I
told you to get rid of those."
And then and immediately I go, "It's a guy, okay? I like it. It's a guy. Why is it so hard?" And they're
She's like, "You motherfucker.
You fucking fine." You know, she went like it became this whole thing where they thought I was gay, and like my dad's trying to figure it out. My mom's fucking upset, and I was like, "It's the fucking movie with the guy in the," because I didn't know his name. I was just so young, and I was like, "It's the robot guy with the gun in the leg." And my dad goes, "No, hombre, it's the fucking robot movie. What? That we went to go see with Joel." "Oh shit, it's a robot." And I was, "Yeah, it's this thing with the fucking his armor." And they were like, they thought I was drawing trannies and shit.
So man ahead of his time.
Yeah, it's gonna be really big in 20 years.
He's got a vision.
Oh man! So
there are people like taking it, trying to take it. So I'm gonna look into this, and you know, I gotta take this to the bathroom. And,
I think we gotta,
you know, play with my dick a little bit. No, Esteban, come here, mijo. I need you to finish this for me.
So in this story, what do they sound like? Yeah, dude, fuck. Poor Mrs. Sankey too. She was trying her best, dude.
Yeah,
To be like,
let's trying to pick it apart.
Yeah.
Dude. She was like beautiful mind, dude. Fucking numbers floating in the air, dude. You know, fucking Minority Report. Just like, what's up with this kid?
Oh god. So when you started playing in the bands, you were doing that, and then you were in another band briefly,
Yeah.
Vigilantes.
Yeah. So from Stub, and to wrap up the cool fucking shows,
Yeah,
like some of my
please,
memorable
please.
shows. Stub opened up for it was Stub. This is a Tascadero Armory Hall in like 95, 96. And it was Stub, Bouncing Souls, 10-foot pole. Screw 32 had to drop out, but they're supposed to play.
Yeah.
And the Vandals.
Wow.
One of my favorite shows, dude. And it was like sold out. It was like Numbskull was like nervous about it. Like it was like, you guys got to fucking do this. You got to like perform, and also stop eating the Vandals' fucking food. It's like no. And they're bummed, dude, because we're eating their fucking food, dude. All the chips, all.
Yeah. Is that a fucking tranny RoboCop on the wall? Fucking graffiti artist. Oh,
yeah, so that was a great show. But some of the other bands, like Stub. So with Stub, Nathaniel Kiefer, Daniel Todd, Edgar, and me, we had a little side project called Fervent Hue. But I was playing guitar. I switched over to guitar, and that was a cool band. And we just did a mix of like, dude, we were all over the place. Like we did a song that sounded like Swinging Utters. We did a song that sounded like Strung Out. I was really into Strung Out, like the guitar playing,
Yeah.
We're doing like stuff like that.
Yeah.
And some of the older bands that we were playing with from out of town, they're like, "What the fuck? You guys are 15 and you're like playing this shit?
Yeah.
You're playing like that? They're just like stoked but mad,
Yeah. Yeah.
And we did that for a while. We played some shows like not shows. We played during lunchtime at high school.
Oh yeah.
Just tripping everybody out. Yeah, and so that Forever He was another one. I did play in Los Vigilantes for a while, short lived, and
then Los Dry Heavers.
Los Dry Heavers after that. But then there was I ended up playing with going back to Mr. Graham, his sons Robert and Ian, and then Macker. Melker. We played in a band called Project America, and it was like hardcore band, like sounding like late 80s hardcore and stuff.
Oh,
and,
like Hoods and Strung Out, Gorilla Biscuit stuff.
Yeah, like Gorilla Biscuits, Youth of Today, kind of like that kind of stuff. And we did that for a while, but then I started. And at this point, we're still doing Stub, but Stub was going a whole another direction. We're doing like hardcore stuff. It was sounding really cool. It was only like 3 of us.
Yeah.
Just left. So we kind of dropped the horns thing. And but then that kind of like faded out. And for a while I wasn't doing anything. And Los Dry Heavers, they started up like around 2000, 2001, and I started like hanging out with them, going to their shows and stuff. And finally, the guitarist and the drummer left, and they're like, "We want you to play guitar." I was like, I don't really play guitar. Like, you can though. They're like, you can play guitar.
Yeah.
Just figure some leads out, and play guitar. So they gave me the CD, and I learned all the songs, and just was really trying to pick apart like some of the guitar playing, like the leads and stuff that I was drawn to were like Motorhead, and then also like love like Chuck Berry, and so like I kind of meshed those two inspirations to like come up with my own guitar playing,
right?
And that's why I like one of the reasons why I play on a semi-hollow body and stuff like that. And, not just because it looks cool, but I like the sound it has when you put like really cool pickups in it. And I joined Los Dry Heavers about it was like 2001, and then shortly after that, 2002, that's when I got my apprenticeship. So I had a full plate, man. I was working my morning job and then tattooing and then playing in the band.
What were you doing for a job at the time?
I was working for Monterey County Office of Education. I was an instructional assistant. I was working with students with special needs and disabilities. And at that, I started when I was like 19 or 20.
Yeah.
And I ended up transferring over to Monterey, and I was working in a transition program with young adults with disabilities. And worked in that program for like 8 years. So I was doing doing that in the morning, then tattooing. I got my apprenticeship at Gold Coast.
Yeah.
Ended up apprenticing under Steve Hendricks, and going back to when I was like hanging out at Broken Art with Jeremy Swan. He's the one that told me, he's like, "Hey, like, take all the art that you've been doing here with us, Steve's at the shop right now. You know, because he learned from Gold Coast,
Right.
Gold Coast, apprentice under Steve. He's like, Steve's right now. I just heard Steve's right now, there right now. He's hardly there, you know, hardly ever there. So just go take all your stuff, you know. And you know, oh, he loves eagles, so make sure you have your eagle drawings in there. And so I just beelined it from Salinas, boom, straight to Monterey to the Lighthouse Avenue shop. Yeah, you know, the Gold Coast one, because there was two.
Yeah.
There was one on Lighthouse Avenue, then one in Marina. And you know, I met him, introduced myself, was nervous as fuck, you know, because I've heard stories about people hitting him up, you know, showing them portfolios, and so he's like, "Don't waste my fucking time. Come back when you're good." Like, no, like we're not doing this. So I was nervous, you know, I didn't know what he was gonna do. So I handed him my art, you know, and I introduced myself, and he was like looking at him. You know, I put the eagle drawings like first 2 pages. So he opens it, and his eyes get all big. He's just like frozen right there, just looking at it. And he turns it, another one. And he keeps going, and, you know, he sees, like, the roses and, you know, all that stuff. You know, he's just, like, skimming through it. And he goes back to the first page. He just keeps looking at the eagle drawings. I'm like, dude, I think he likes it. And he likes, you know, and, yeah, he was just like, yeah, let's get you started, man. You know, like, I think this can work out. And, you know, I started my apprenticeship, you know, and I was, like, bouncing back and forth between the Lighthouse Avenue and the Marina one till finally, like, I just got into the Marina shop, you know, and just focused there a lot, you know.
What year is this?
2002. About
So
2002.
it's funny because Butch, who works here, worked at the Marina shop in '92, and just the funniness of just how all of it's intertwined, right?
Yeah.
This morning when we went over to Acme Coffee, shout out to Acme, and knowing Larry,
Yeah.
just how this person, that person, and just I always find it to be so interesting, man. That
Yeah, Larry played in a band in Salinas called Lengua.
okay,
And Lengua and Stub used to play together all the time. You know,
dude.
and James that played drums, and Stub he played drums in Lengua as well. And yeah, you know, stoked to see Larry, man. It's been ages. And stoked he's doing good with his coffee roasting. And
20th year is this year for them.
Man.
And
Awesome.
we're actually doing a flash tattoo event for them that we're going to be doing to raise some money for, I think, Dorothy's Kitchen. So if you want to come down, dude, you're more than welcome to.
Yeah, just give me the dates, man.
But just seeing like how the scene has grown up in its own way, it's humbling, man. It's nice, but I also feel like it's a dying breed. Every generation thinks that their generation is the last one, right?
Right. Yeah.
And that's the hard part is. Back to the conversation of, you know, respect the old gods, welcome the new.
Right. Yeah, it goes along with, like, you know, you got to grow with the industry you're in, you know, or it's going to grow without you.
And I feel like when we were coming up in the tattoo world, the art world, the music world, it was a community, but there was a different pecking order back then. There was a difference in the sense of, music-wise, you could have a really popular band with, like, not great musicians but good enough. Yeah. You know, like, one of my favorites is the Noisy documentaries that were done by Vice, where they talk about two-tone ska and they talk about hardcore. I don't know if you've ever seen those.
No, I don't think so. I'm familiar with Vice, though.
Yeah, I will send them to you. You would love them. But they're narrated by Tim Armstrong. And it is the weirdest thing ever. It's like, back in the 1985... You know, and there's a whole thing about the second wave ska. Yeah, there's a whole thing about second wave ska, and it's awesome. The specials and, you know, the English beat and everything. And then it's just like, yeah, but then in Berkeley, California, came out Operation Ivy, and then it just becomes a promotion for himself. Yeah. But it's a great thing. But they have this one thing where they're talking to the hardcore kids, and he goes, you know what the crazy thing about hardcore is you can be a terrible guitar player in general, but a virtuoso in the hardcore scene, you know. And it's just such a funny thing to hear, because the pecking order was you could be a phenomenal musician where other musicians respected what you do. You may not be friends, but you're like, oh, that motherfucker's good. And then you had other guys where they were just like, fuck it, man, I am who I am, and I'm doing it. And then you just had homies that were happy to play. I think you are a really good example, because I feel I'm that way, or was at least back in the day, of where you would see a guy being too proud for being shitty. And it's not even like just that they're proud of it. They were a dick about it. And you're like, you know what, dude? What is he playing? Let's fucking do this. because you would learn for the sake of learning, but you would see somebody and be like, dude, nah. Like, I want to see what you're so fucking great about. And that weird childish pride goes into an adult thing where you're in the tattoo world. You were doing all these amazing things at a young age. Like, you had trained us when we were young. And at 14, 15, Peter and Juliana and myself were playing pretty goddamn well for being so young.
For sure. You guys, like, just freaking picked up the instruments, man, and just...
I'll never forget. I'll never fucking forget when we played with you guys at that house show. It was like a constructed house. The frame was barely up. And we played over in Watsonville or Castroville or some shit.
Oh, yeah.
And it was Watsonville. And it was like a bunch of Soreños had showed up. And we're like, oh, fuck. And this metal band was playing, and it was...
Oh, yeah, that's when Felix was like, Slayer did it better.
Yeah. And I had...
Just bumming them out.
Yeah.
Like, how you doing?
I was sitting there.
Slayer did it better.
Yeah, and I that's exactly what he said. I had said, what's the name of this band? And he waited for them to stop, and he goes, what? I go, what's the name of the band? He goes, the name of the band Slayer Did It Better. And fucking, I didn't but you guys were the Heavers, and no one was gonna say shit to you guys. And I just, the standard that you guys had held, it was a very good one. Of, if you're gonna like match up, you gotta match up, dude. You're welcome here anytime, but put in the fucking effort. And I feel like this is where it becomes hard, right? When you started becoming an apprentice, you were juggling multiple things that you couldn't really fall behind on. You love your music 120%, like to the point that you will learn whatever you can and take in whatever you can. You love art 120%, but you're only able to do what you can with what you know. And then you have your day job where you're like, well, it keeps me afloat. Because back then, being a full-time tattooer was a fucking hard thing to do.
Yeah.
What was it like going from somebody who rode this high of where you were at and then having to basically start from zero and something else? Because I think that's where a lot of people struggle with, right? Of like, I'm great at these one things. I want that respect I've earned. And then the person from the tattoo world or art in general is like, I don't know who the fuck you are.
Right. So like my apprenticeship, man, like I feel like it was pretty smooth, because I had that like work ethic, so I feel like I had an advantage. Yeah. So when I was working for MCOE, like early on, I did a part-time custodial gig, and I had to learn about disinfectants and like, cleaning stuff,
cross contaminants and stuff.
Yeah. So, I had to go to like seminars for this shit, to learn about like cleaners and what's safe and like, don't mix this shit, like all this stuff. So, the custodial part, the cleaning part that I was, that you're supposed to do when you're an apprentice, like piece of cake, dude. I put a little step in my mopping, like that was no problem, and then, just keeping stuff sanitary was like, that was easy for me because I was already doing it. I was doing it for a school,
right.
Like making sure like kids were safe, with clean environment.
Right.
And then, back when I started, pre-made needles weren't a thing yet.
Right.
And so I had to learn how to solder
the
needles. Yeah, the jigs and stuff.
Yeah.
I was already familiar with a soldering iron, like soldering like pickups, like wires and stuff to like the guitars and stuff. So I was already a bit savvy with that. So I picked that up pretty quick.
Right.
And, I wanted to learn. And so I would do more than what was asked. Someone told me clean this, clean that. I'm like, I'm going to find more things to clean.
Yeah.
Because it only took me once, dude, when like the artists were like, hey, like clean this, clean that. Once you're done, you can prop up a stool, look over our shoulder, ask us questions. And then when I was done and I sat down, they're like, did you do this? Did you do that? I'm like, no. No, you only said to do this thing. And they just kind of like looked at me and I was like, fuck, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. Just clean. Find things to clean.
Yeah.
I knew how to like deep clean, because I used to be a cook at Denny's and stuff. And, I worked graveyard and I had to pull stuff up to clean behind things. So I was doing that at the shop. I'd come in early before anyone came in, and I was doing that. I was cleaning everything. I was making sure they didn't have excuses to like be like, "Hey, you didn't do this. You didn't do this." There's no such thing as overkill. When it comes to it, and then they're like, "All right, this guy's hungry. He wants to learn." So it went. I don't want to say it went fast. It's just I utilized the time I had.
Yeah, you didn't waste it.
I didn't waste it. I used it correctly.
Yeah.
I felt like, so, lo and behold, so then I'm like tattooing, and I'll never forget when, because when I was like, when I got to the point where I was tattooing on people, it was free. I was only allowed to do like, kanjis, little solid black tattoos, maybe a rose, just small things, and nothing above my skill range,
Right.
But I had this one guy that I kept getting tattooed. We just hit it off, he was another Mexican dude, and he was stoked that I spoke Spanish, and we just really hit it off, and he just kept coming back from these little tattoos. And finally, like in the evening time, we're the only ones there. He's all, hey, like, I want you to do this cover up. He had like really like fine line, home kitchen tattoo, and he was like, I want you to cover this up. I want this eagle. And it was like a nice, like illustrated, like realistic eagle, but still illustrated, from the Flash. And I put it on there, and I did it. And I was like, hey, like, I'm not supposed to do anything this big, but he talked me into it.
Yeah,
he was like, dude, like, look what you've done on me already.
Yeah.
Like you can do it. Like, he was confident in my work. And so I had to like step it up. I'm like, all right. So I did this eagle, shading it, it had some color too. And then Steve walks in.
Oh.
Steve walks in, and it's almost close to closing time. I just have a little bit more, and I finish it up. And when he looks at what I'm working on, his eyes get big. And I'm like, oh, fuck, he's pissed, dude. He's going to fucking kick my ass, dude. He's going to spank me. And so, wrap it up, and the guy's like, oh, how much do I owe you? I was like, no, I can't charge you, dude. I can't charge you. So you just tip me, and I was like, yeah, you don't have to do that either. Like, you're doing me a solid, dude. But he was like, no, just, you did great, dude. I'm fucking happy. He was stoked. He walked out. I locked up. And then, like, Steve's in the back. This is at the marina shop. And
Yeah.
He goes, hey, can you come back here? And he talk to you. And I'm like, fuck, why do we need to go back there? I'm thinking in my head, like, there's no one out here.
Yeah.
It's all locked. And I was like,
Yeah.
fuck, dude. So I walked back there. He just looks at me. He's like, you know what? It's time for you to start charging. He's all like, he was like, that was a cover up. I was like, oh, you're not mad? He's like, no. He was like, that was fucking good. He was like, that was great. Like, he was just stoked. He was just like, holy shit, and I was like, oh man.
Yeah.
He's like, here, let me show you how to work the books, like, the percentage drop and all this stuff, just
Yeah.
showing me all that stuff. And I was just like, holy shit. Holy shit. This was after a few months,
Yeah.
Of my apprenticeship, because I just busted my ass, dude. Like, I wanted it. There's that saying, if you got time to lean, you got time to clean, like there's always something to do.
Yeah.
There's never, like, you should not be bored. Only fucking boring people are bored.
Yeah.
100
fucking %, dude.
It's like, there's no fucking excuses. Like,
Yeah.
you gotta find something to do.
I think one of the most taxing things about people when they want to get into tattooing or art is, even in music, right? Is that like, no, I'm good. I've done this. I've done that. And that's great, dude. But having an accolade is nothing other than a fucking chance to talk about yourself. Having an acquisition is having nothing but something to prove yourself. Like in the sense of, when I was an apprentice, I had to learn to do A, B, C, D, and E, like, the needles, the inks, and this and that, how to talk with people. Speaking to people was easy.
Yeah.
But I failed to meet up to my match the first time because I got scared because I couldn't draw. I could trace, but I couldn't draw. And the boys were like, well, fuck it, dude. But they were also in a time in an area where they had started in the early 2000s and the late 90s where, well, fuck it, dude, Flash. Burt Grimm, Crazy Philadelphia Eddie, you had your fucking, of course, your Sailor Jerry, and we were looking up to, like, the Steve Sotos and the Philip Lou's and all these guys. We were like, who the fuck, and I remember when Freddie Corbin first came across my fucking
love
thing.
his stuff,
Yeah, phenomenal. And I was like, man, this guy's fucking dope. And fucking Soul Assassins down in LA, and seeing Mr. Cartoon and just like reading about this guy and how you'd have to go to the Cow Palace shows. But for us, we weren't allowed to do conventions. We weren't allowed to take certain days off. Like, it was a lot of structure at the beginning, but that was our entire world. And I remember I had failed as an apprentice, but they kept me on because I was good with people. I could clean the shit out of everything. And I also was a really solid piercer because they was like, well, in case for a backup.
Yeah.
And I had signed a contract that I could not work within.
Yeah, Larry did that to you guys.
Yeah, he did 100 miles, I believe was what it was.
Wasn't it 50? 50? Did he change it to 100?
Something.
I always heard it was like 50.
No, it was 100 miles, and you couldn't do A, B, and C. It had to be for 3 years, or he would sue you. You know, and it was funny because Morris Bravo was the one who told me. He's like, I'm not fucking signing that. I don't have to do shit, because I was like, how do you know? He goes, I've dealt with the legal system before. I go, so you're like a lawyer or something? Sure. I'm like, all right,
Let's call it that.
yeah, you got it, bro. But I and Kenny Travis had signed it, so I had to leave for 3 years because I couldn't compete. You know, not knowing now where like he couldn't have fucking done shit. He wasn't gonna spend the money on me. But I was young, and I was like, all right, fuck it. And I went out there and I tried. But the apprenticeship that I had there was like you had to be there. You were just privy to it earlier, where every Friday we have a meeting, and that meeting is not to be like, what the fuck's going on? It's like, hey man, how are you doing?
Yeah.
How is things going here? What do we need? Is there anything we want to work on? What's the main concern? And it was really good because like we clean together and we set up together. Everybody shares here. Everybody helps each other. It should be like a community, a family, like a band. But a lot of that comes from the fact of we rise together and we fall together. Okay, like there is no sense of like I'm better than you and you shouldn't be able to hold it up. But if too much of that weight is on my shoulders and not enough on yours, then we have a real issue. If you want this, it shouldn't take you 3 to 10 years to become great at something. You should have that time. Like you said, if you have time to lean, you have time to clean. The new generation of anything, I think, suffers from the innovation of the last. Like, you don't know how much you appreciate a car until you've had to build one, right? And how it works and so forth. So you see a lot of guys now where they're just bored tracing things on an iPad, and it's like, dude, have you ever just tried finding, I really want this, cool, the mountains of pencils and tracing paper, the mountains of fucking having to look up stuff and just draw out of your head, and then your wall of flash that is yours, your actual schedule stuff, you know, the real time it took to be an artist. And
the reference books.
There's
a saying, you know, where it's like you're only as good as the reference books you have.
I'll never forget, and the reason why I'm so big on all my books is because that is 100% true. I will never forget the day that this guy I worked with was so bent on Google, because Google had just really popped off. And he was like, yeah, you can find anything, bro. Fuck Britannia Arms, you know, like all this
damn, I heard that.
And fuck all these places, fuck this and that. And he was like, you know, I get it from Google, but there wasn't very many images uploaded back then, especially fucking terrible speeds. And one of the guys at the shop goes, hey, check this shit out. And they were the zoo books from Nickelodeon. And he was like, check this tiger's face out. And he just kept copying the tiger's face and adding leaves in random places. He goes, I've done 12 of these things. But every single time I do it, I try a new technique with my mag. I do this. And it was a very awesome point of view of where my apprenticeship was rough for the right reasons, but they never did anything without intent of trying to help me get better. And their point to me was, if I'm going to put 100% into you, I want 110 back. You're an investment to me, you know? And I'm still friends with those guys, you know, because the reality of it is like art is something that you do regardless if anyone's watching. You know, I've like I was saying earlier about why it's hard for me to be in a band is because I don't care about playing shows. Never have. I just love playing. And I love playing with masters, because if you're better than me, then I have to get better. Tattooing's in the same way. You would never know from looking on the outside of this place that we're even fucking here. Like, you would never assume any of this is here. But I like it because when the people do come, it's quality that's like, fuck, dude, I would do what you need to in your zone. And it's like, thank you. After almost 20 years of doing this, dude, it's fucking nice. You know, so once you started with that Gold Coast, you started getting into more of the... you started tattooing more off and on because you were working plus playing music plus all this stuff. So how did you find your balance while still trying to get better?
Dude, I was just spread thin, dude. I don't know how I did it. But I just knew I had to be here at this time and there at this time. It was scheduled. It was kind of like organized chaos, but
Yeah.
it was somewhat organized for me to like be able to do it. I got off of work on my first job early enough to like go, show up at the shop at 3 and work till 10 or midnight, and then I do it all over again. Luckily, like, band practice was set on days, so I knew not to like, book anything, or like that stuff was already set. So I just ran around, dude. Just doing it. And it worked. It worked for a while, and then I started feeling the hecticness, and then the band stuff started shooting off more. At this point, I was in Los Dry Heavers, and we got picked up by a record label, and it was an independent record label. I'm not going to mention it because we didn't end in good terms that first label.
Absolutely okay.
And it kept us busy. We're playing like 6 to 8 shows a month.
Yeah.
We started touring, like going.
You guys are on Warped Tour.
Yeah, we did the Warped Tour, the California dates, like in 2004. So we were doing a lot of schlepping. We were doing a lot of traveling, and I wanted to pursue that. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna, stop tattooing to follow this, which I regretted after a while because I was missing it. I was like, man, I got into it. It was a lot of work, and I just let it go like that. So finally, after like 3.5 years, let's just say 4, I was like, I was still drawing. I was doing a lot of drawing. We'd be traveling. I'd be take my sketchbook, and I'd be, drawing all the time, just to keep up my chops and stuff. But what's wild is when I finally got back into tattooing, I ended up working at a shop called Old Town Tattoo Shop that was on Webster Street in Monterey. And when I got the job there, when I got back into tattooing, I was like, dude, like the progress, like how the industry's changed and progressed. I was like, holy shit, dude, I got a lot of catching up to do.
Yeah.
And that never stops. Like, you're supposed to have that feeling,
right,
of like, fuck, I need to keep growing. It never stops, and I think that's the right feeling to have. But I was like, for sure, I was like, dude, I need to make this 3-year, 4-year leap happen. I need to catch up. I need to draw, like, wow, that's beautiful fucking neo-traditional girl face, like I need to get that good, like, now, without tracing it, just implementing what I think is cool, and so, I just put my head down, and, I was like, I'm never letting go of this ever again.
Did you ever learn how to read or transcribe music?
No, so with reading music, I knew what a G sharp was. I could find it on the bass. So when I was playing the jazz band, I did learn that. I did learn because there was this gospel song that Mr. Graham had us play. It was a badass gospel song, but it was fast.
Yeah.
Like the drummer was doing like triplets beats. Yeah. And I was like, dude, this is like almost like punk, dude.
Yeah.
And the bass riff was like, dude, gospel bass playing. It's different. It's a whole nother fucking thing.
Beautiful. For really quick, sorry to interrupt you.
Sorry.
So for anybody that wants to hear a tremendous use of gospel in any setting, if you want to get an introductory, Eric Moore, tremendous drummer, but I had spoken to him years ago, and I was like, yeah, man, like, besides just church, like, where would you go? And he goes, funny enough, dude, get into the Hercules soundtrack from Disney. I was like, really? And he goes, listen to it's a gospel album. The entire movie is a gospel band. Yeah. And so it's like, yeah, bless my soul, Hercules on a roll. But he goes, listen to when they switch it up from a half step to a 16th. And immediately the bass just fucking walking, and then using harmonics to just go octave, octave, octave. And he goes, it just smacks. And
yeah, it's a whole nother thing.
It's
dude.
a whole other thing.
And that was like one song. I forget the name of the song, but I remember Mr. Graham was bummed on me, dude.
Yeah.
He would take me off the bass and have this other dude fill in, and I didn't like that.
Yeah.
I didn't like that. I was like, dude, I need to do something about this. So I would like study the song.
You fucking hit his knees.
And then right, fucking slap his fingers like, oh, culero, ándale. And you motherfucker. Try playing bass now. And no, so like I learned to read music because I wanted to actually like
Get better,
figure out
yeah.
those notes, because there's like a lot of half stepping, the way the bass walks in gospel, especially when that beat is like just fucking like
It's a feel that you can transcribe, but you have to understand.
yeah.
You know, and the reason I ask is because it dawned on me while you were speaking about it is how important now, obviously in hindsight it's 2020, but like how important and trippy it is that when you look at music and you see that, like, fuck, dude, I can play really well, but I'm stunting myself because I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
You know, and then you go into the tattoo world where when you left, everything was this way, which had traditionally been done that way for a long time. I remember Larry on someone's back doing he was like, you'll never in your life use anything but a 7 mag, and he had, I think, a 9 at the time. I was like, a 9 mag. And he was working on some dude's back, some Japanese, and he was breaking open the skin with whip shading the fucking the needle, and then putting in witch hazel and black, but like a 9 mag on an entire back.
That's gnarly. Yeah.
And now in retrospect, yeah, but I was just like, back then, I'm like, wow, how much art did you actually know, like traditional anatomical art, when you were getting into the new school? Because like 2002 to 2007, in my opinion, is when the world of new school versus neo traditional came up. Which, in your opinion, is there a difference?
Steve used to call it neo traditional. He'd call it pseudo traditional. Pseudo traditional.
Do you think there's a difference between both? First question.
You know, I think there is. I feel like the new school, it's like there's a lot of roundness. You know, like it has like
spheres and, and shapes,
and the light source.
Yes.
You know, is like really there. You know, like you know, it's still illustrated, but there's like realistic elements in it. You know,
like a Joe Capobianco kind
exactly. That's what I think of when I think that. You know, for sure. You know, like yeah, definitely. You know, and then you see stuff like what Timmy B is doing. You know, like you know, he got into new school because he was tired of doing realism.
Yeah, he hated it, and then not hated it, but he was like, I'm just being everybody else.
Yeah, you know, but like him applying that into like the new school, like dude, like you see, like, you know, you almost feel it, you know, like just the way, like, you know, the light source and, you know, the detail. It's really awesome. And neo traditional, I love it because it's so like the contrast, you know, is there, and you can just do everything flat, you know, and it's gonna look great because of the
value control.
Yeah, exactly. You know, you can just saturate something just one solid color. You know, it doesn't. You know, but you have the nice solid black around stuff, around like open spaces or lighter tones. It just looks great.
Yeah, because I feel now you hear all these new terms where it's like we have the Euro traditional, we have the like I had never heard of the style, but I've seen it.
Dude, for me, it's like I love all that, like, you know, like what those guys are doing, like in Spain and stuff.
Oh,
like
yeah,
traditional. But Australia.
Yes, Australia and Seoul, Korea right now.
Oh yeah, exactly.
The Korean Japanese, and I was like, really? And Joseph was the one, because he's studying nothing but Japanese for the next 2 years, and he's like, he still does his amazing portraits and his realism and everything, but he's like, I want to go back to just doing tattoos. I love the realism and I love this, but like that's where I'm moving on the bodysuit stuff. I'll show you.
But when the bodysuit stuff, the large work, it made me think of all those cats up in Canada, dude, like Steve Moore.
Yes.
You know, and James Tex,
Jake,
and his
Jake
son Anthony.
Fucking Jake Tattoos. He's from
Australia.
Yeah, Australia. Yeah. One of the guys.
I love his stuff.
Yeah.
I love his stuff. Like when I see his stuff, I'm like, oh, you motherfucker! Oh God, I want to do something like that. But you know, that's up to me. I need to draw that stuff.
Yeah.
For people to know, like, that I want to do that stuff and that I can.
Yeah.
You know?
I'll show you tomorrow, because he's the guy who's doing the barbecue. The 2 honey masks that I'm working on the dude's back.
Oh yeah.
And
so you start that.
And you know, just piece by piece of it. But like I really agree with Joseph. I can do some nice realism. I can do some nice illustrative stuff, but I'm like, sometimes I just want to do a good fucking old school tattoo because I miss
something that you can finish in one shot.
Yeah, well,
I love that.
The thing you saw me do yesterday on that kid, you know, and I don't do that very often at all. But when I was done, solid and clean, and I miss that.
Yeah.
Like I miss just good fucking wham bam, thank you, ma'am. But the reason I asked it was because, from my perspective, or at least my curiosity of it, is I think when you're actually learning, when you came back to tattooing, there was all this progress. There was all these like changes and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of that scared people because old school tattooers were the same thing as I tell Mondo, aka Biff here, is like, you know, you build, like Mr. Graham would say, practice makes bad habits. If you practice somebody in jail, like their work from jail, and they don't really have a good understanding of how to actually do art, you're going to mimic those bad habits or those poor understandings. Yeah. That can be called style, but it could also just be like a new norm. I think a lot of traditional guys, even though they pioneered a lot of stuff, I love this talk somebody
You're talking about like the old cats from the old days.
Yes.
Stuff. Well, they did a lot of stuff that so we don't have to.
Yes.
You know, that's how I see it. You know,
yeah.
You have a lot of young cats these days that are just like, you know, I'm a traditional tattooer. I'm like, you're just part of the scene, dude.
Yeah.
You're not using 3 liners to line everything because those old guys did it and it blew out everything, and we're seeing the result of that.
Yeah.
You know, but then, you know, you have guys that are using like, you know, freaking 14 rounds, you know, on something that's like smaller than palm size, and it's like, dude, you know how that's gonna look? We know what a 3 round done 30 years ago looks like.
Yeah.
How do you think that 14 round is gonna look like?
Ha cha cha.
You know,
and I feel like that's where, again, is you see somebody had made this comment of like Jack Rudy or Freddie Negretti.
And you know what I love about those guys is like, for as long as they've been doing it, you know, like I think it was Jack Rudy. He did like this interview, and he was asked about like, you know, how he feels about like what this new generation of tattooers are doing. He's like, it's keeping me on my toes.
Yeah.
You know, like those guys are staying relevant.
And that was the point I was going to make. Somebody in this conversation goes, would they even be famous or well known today? Would they even be good today by today's standards? And the person responds with, probably not to your standards, but if you actually knew those guys, then you would know why they would be better. It's because of their attitude. It's not the skill that makes you good. Cool. You have a lot of really good artists and like artisans in the craft of tattooing now, but they don't have any love or passion, respect for the tradition of what it is. A lot of people want to immediately jump to like gatekeeping or this or that.
Well, also, you know, the styles that they were doing, like the black and gray stuff, that was frowned upon.
Yeah,
that was like the rest of the tattooing industry. They didn't see black and gray as a legitimate style.
Right.
You know, I don't know if a great documentary on that is Tattoo Nation.
Yeah.
And you know, it talks about that. You know, and you know, that's when Ed Hardy stepped in. You know, like you know, he did all that Japanese work, brought it over here in his portfolios, and he was like, dude, black and gray is needed.
Yeah.
You know, like in Japan, they've been doing this for how long? You know, where like they do beautiful, colorful objects, and the background's black and gray.
Yeah.
And you know, you don't need to put the black and gray in those beautiful colored objects. The black and gray just makes that color look beautiful and pop out. And you know, and one of my favorite scenes from parts of that documentary is Freddie Negretti, where he's like, yeah, I remember, you know, seeing Ed Hardy's portfolio, and I'm looking in it, and it's just, you know, I thought I was the shit, dude. He was saying, he was like, I thought I had it down, dude. I was the shit, dude. But then I opened up Ed Hardy's book, and it's fucking back piece after back piece after back piece, you know, black and gray with color. And that's when I realized, man, I don't know shit. You know, that isn't Freddie Negretti saying that, you know, and it's just like, you humbled him, dude. Like, what, dude?
I remember getting to talk to him quite a few times when I worked in LA, and that is absolutely why I love and respect what they do, because when you speak to them, they actually are listening to you, and they're trying to understand. A lot of them don't care that they have
Jack,
this.
when he looks at you, dude.
Yeah, the
scoping you out. A little side. I had sushi with him in Seattle one time at the convention. He just looks like.
Well, I mean, I was hanging.
He's cool. He's a cool dude.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I was at the San Francisco the State of Grace show that they did over the Invitational in SF a few years back, and I got to do the seminar. Yeah.
Yeah, I met Taki for the first time
really?
a few weeks ago. Yeah, my girlfriend and I went to San Jose to hang out with family, and we had a sushi restaurant. And I saw State of Grace was right there. I was like, man, I need meet those guys.
Taki and his wife Knives, and fucking even with like Horitomo and all those guys, dude. I mean, amazing. Tyler Harrington's another heavy hitter.
Yeah, they're phenomenal artists.
They're phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I just was talking about Taki on the last pod where his library, you see his station the traditional way.
Yeah, I saw the station with the arrows in the walls. You see that?
Oh, dude, and
so
he
cool.
has some books in there that are from the 1870s, and how he was talking about when they would look at people's earlier work, and how those people that were doing Japanese, he goes, it's crazy, but when you look at these pieces, these are stories being told. Yeah. Their helmet is a real clan emblem.
Right.
This is the
like,
type of
there's
gear.
like a lot of meaning in that stuff.
Yeah,
It's not just like a samurai guy. It's a specific one.
And how he had said, like, why is it, so this is from this clan, this is from this time period, which are 200 years apart, 300 years apart. Then it took place in fall. Why is it spring and summer? And then this was nowhere near water, so where's the water coming from? And just, I remember speaking to him about that, and just like his point of view of like history and everything. And when he started talking, I was like, man, I really don't know fucking shit. Going to the SF Invitational, he goes, I've always done the Brushes of Doom stuff with like the cameras and whatever, because it was a way to bring how we grew up. Like, I felt that, especially from us where we were from, there was a lot of people that, you don't really need any of that, but we were so fucking lucky to have Graham and other teachers that really gave a shit about us and being like, I want to show you a standard, motherfucker, and you better fucking do it. And then you had you guys and the rest of the scene that's like, okay, man, like, fucking do it. And going to that Invitational, I was like, you know what, man, I was with World of Pencils at the time, and they had me painting at their booth. So I was like, fuck it, yeah, I'm painting, and I'm next to Dan Kubin and Pierre and Vero, who run the Evian fucking convention in France. So we're sitting there and chilling, and fucking what's this fucking face? Tim Hendricks comes over, and it's him, it's Taki, and it's Franco and Chun Gitanar coming over to watch me paint. That's watercolor, huh? Oh, bro, fucking hey, man. Hey, it's good to see you. I've seen you from that one convention, and I'm over here like,
okay.
And Taki runs up and goes, hey, man, you have your camera, right? Yeah. And he goes, are you recording anything? Like, yeah, I was just going to record and share it and everything. Again, just because I wanted to show people from where we were from. And I mean that in any small context of any town, any place. Like, you can just fucking do it, dude. Just do it. But you got to, like, care about it.
Yeah.
We had a guy that was supposed to fucking film for the seminar for BJ Bex and Chaz Bojorquez. And I was like, oh, fuck, yeah, sure, dude. Like,
BJ's a cool dude. I met him in Seattle.
I had no idea he was a Marine.
Yeah.
And he was ex-Marine, and that's why he's so, like, to the point. And awesome. I got to hang out with him while we were prepping, and Chaz, just listening to him talk about his life. Did you ever see This Fool?
Yeah.
That show?
Yeah.
The lettering in the front is his lettering, his signature one from all his stuff. And just listening to those guys talk, and you're seeing BJ Betts, one of the heavy hitters, be like, so what was it like when you were doing your Mylar stuff? And he goes, honestly, man, I was watching The Graduate, and I was watching something, and I saw that the plastics is the future. So I just started fucking going out, and I started doing tags and shit. And, the Senior Suerto and all this stuff. And I think that's where the reality of when you came back into tattooing, as I have been growing with it over my years, trying to catch up to you guys, I think that's where the difference between a hobbyist and a true artisan is how much time are you willing to invest in just observing history and taking that in, learning, growing, and then coming back home to reproduce it and learn it for yourself. Because the reality is that the best of the best are the best for a reason, you know. But I've met a lot of great artists, like musicians, who are not great people, And that's okay. I don't have to like the person to respect the art.
Yeah.
But I don't think that I've met a lot of great artists who are not disciplined. Like everyone that I meet that I respect, those motherfuckers have it down. Yeah. And I feel that is where now you see a lot of the artists that in our later years, because we've been tattooing about the same amount of time. I mean, cohesively as far as age wise. And most of the people that I gravitate towards, I'm like, hey man, can I see your library? Can I see your books? And you start sharing those things when you hear about how Horiyoshi and how oh my god, why am I drawing a blank?
Shige?
Not Shige, but Ed Hardy, sorry. Oh. How they were sharing Polaroids. Hey, would you mind if I lent this to you and I will send it back? Complete fucking trust. Right, amongst like
it's that honor system.
The honor system of just like, I would love to study this. And over the years, like that's how you build real community. And I think the reason why I love talking about this with you is because most of the people that you have rolled with your entire life, not all, are still there, and there's a sense of community. Most of the people I have been around, I still love and respect and fucking roll with because there's a sense of community. And that's what makes it, I think, a solid artist at the end of the day, right? Like it's like what you've built, not just in your craft, but in what you surround yourself with.
Right.
So like in the years that you started going forward, I remember that you were working at a place over in Capitola, right?
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah,
good luck that too. That was after I was at Studio 13 in Salinas.
Yeah. So once you started going from there, what pushed you even further? Because now you've been running for a while.
So when I was at Good Luck in Capitola, it was owned by my good friend who sadly passed away not that long ago, Andy Beswick.
Yes, I remember.
I love you, Andy.
Yes.
I met him through a birthday party in Prunedale. My friend Little Jen's birthday, that actually worked there.
Yeah.
But then she ended up working Eights and Aces with Flip. And so he was looking to fill that seat. And I didn't know, but we like hit it off at this birthday party. Like he kept looking at me like, Aunt is Andy, going like, I need to, and later he told me, he was like, I saw you. And I was like, I think I'm going to like this guy. I need to talk to him. And then we started talking, and he was like, oh, you're a tattooer. Oh, and this is where you work. And we just hit it off. And, someone told me, hey, they're looking for an artist. You should hit him up. And I just loved what he was doing, and I just wanted to push myself more, and so, I told him I was interested. We did an interview thing. I went over and to the shop and talked, and he did this pinup girl on me, this cowgirl right here, and we hit it off. And he told me later, he was like, I wanted to tell you right there and then, like, you got the job, but I had to wait. He was like, I had to play it cool. Ended up hiring me, started working. After that, I stopped working in MCOE. And found another job working with adults with special needs and disabilities 2 blocks away from the shop.
Oh, wow.
So I'd get off like at 2 and then just dart over to the shop and work till like 10. So it was a sweet gig. So I was still doing, I love working with people with special needs. I miss it to this day. It was a big part of my life. I was also like a Special Olympics coach for like 10 years. It was awesome. Yeah. And so, I got to do that and then go to the shop. And then, I ended up getting with their friend, with Andy's friend and his wife's friend. They're like, hey, like, you're single, you should, hang out with our friend, this and that. And we hit it off. And then, she wasn't really big into the tattooing. And she was like, the only person I know is my friend Corey from back home in Nevada City, in Grass Valley. He has a shop, Classic Tattoo. And I was like, oh, let me see his work. And she was like, yeah, like, I think he's good. She tells me that. I think he's good. And I'm like, well, let's check it out. And then profile picture is the cover of that he got put on the fucking TAM magazine.
Oh, wow.
And it was like a painting that he did, this king cobra, like with a humanoid body, with the crown. I was like, what the fuck, dude? What? Then I'm looking through his pictures, his posts on Facebook, and I was like, you're saying that you think he's good? And she was like, what? Like, yeah, I think my friend's good. I'm like, he's fucking amazing. He's fucking phenomenal. I was like, that's a fucking understatement. She's like, I don't know. I don't know these things.
You had to put your hand down.
Yeah, I was like, ooh, fucking trembling. Like Krusty the Clown when Bart says, you can punch me in the face, it makes you feel better. He's like, you know, just biting his fucking lip. You know, and I was like, this dude is phenomenal.
Yeah.
I was like, holy shit, you know. And, you know, we kept visiting up in the area, you know, and I fell in love with that area. And at that time, shortly after, you know, I left Les Heavers, you know, stopped playing. I wanted to focus on my art.
Yeah.
I was like, if I'm going to
excel,
like, I need to lighten the load and I need to focus on what I really, really want, you know. Tell me what you want. No, and, you know, I was just like, it just lit something in me. Like homeboy's doing this stuff. Like, fuck, dude. Like, if I ever felt like I was behind, that shit made me feel even more. You know, like Fred Negrete said, like, you know, I don't know shit. You know, I was just like, holy fuck, dude. There's like more. There is so much more. You know, and so, you know, we moved up to the area. I really had no like expectations of I was gonna work with this guy. You know, but everyone kept telling everyone I was meeting, it's like, hey, you're a tattooer. Oh, well, this is the place. This is the only place worth working at if you're gonna move to the area. But don't get your hopes up because people would kill to fucking work with this guy. Yeah. And I was like, I'm gonna make it happen. I just love the area. I love the area. I'm inspired to be up here. You know, and you know, the area I'm talking about is Nevada City, Grass Valley. You know, and so you know, I move up there. I can't find a place because you know I end up meeting some other shops, and we're not vibing, and you know what they're doing is not inspiring me, you know. So I'm like, I'm not gonna surround myself with this stuff, you know. And I ended up when I finally ended up talking to Corey Norris, you know, he was like, I'm not ready to hire somebody. Like, your work's beautiful. We ended up like hitting it off because we know so many people personally and within the business.
Right.
You know, he's like, holy shit, like this is hanging over my head. He was, you know, like which told me like he really wanted to hire me, but he just wanted his other guys to be busier, you know. And so he was like, I'm not saying no, I'm just saying not right now, you know. So, you know, I needed a job at the time, and I just didn't want to fall into any other shop. I would just do guest spots. I'd come back to Capitola and do guest spots just to satiate my tattoo. And, you know, kept doing the drawings and stuff. Wasn't slowing down with that, watercoloring, whatnot. And in the meantime, I ended up working at a boys group home as a mental health worker, because I had that background working with students and stuff. So, you know, they picked me up de volada, you know, just right away. You know, got promoted. You know, was doing good. I was, you know, reparenting these boys and you know, making them, having them follow the program, and they were stoked. They were stoked that I was like their lead mental health worker, and they were doing good. But then Corey one day was just like, hey, I'm ready to have you come back in here. Like start tattooing. It's breaking my heart you're not tattooing. You know, he was like, I got a station. I'm going to set it up. Yeah. You know, you can start when you can. And so I left that job, started working at Classic with Corey, you know, and this is like 2011, 2012. And, nice. You know, and I wanted to like still do the special ed thing because I just loved doing that. But I got busy and I just wanted to do that. So that's when it was just tattooing. I just was doing tattooing. I didn't do anything else. And, you know, I just been trying to satiate that hunger this whole time. You know, it's been like 12 years now that I've been working with Corey, you know, and such an amazing friend and coworker and inspiring, not just artistic wise, but just, you know, all around, you know. And, you know, now we have that shop together. You know, it's almost been 2 years now, and still going.
And I think that is exactly what makes a strong push, right? Like, I personally think that people think you will get to a point where you're like, I've made it, right? Like my dad would always say, there will never be a time you feel like a grown up. You're just a kid with more responsibilities, you know. And I think about that. Like I think about you and Clem, you know, because I only really knew you guys and obviously your mom.
Yeah.
But like Peter's mom, Clem, is Eddie's sister. You guys were like the cool punk rockers that grew up, and then you just had a bunch of badass kids that we were like, what the fuck are these kids doing? I remember the first time that Pete and Jules had called me over because I lived a block away, and they had smoked weed in Clem's house, and they were like, "Oh, bro, we can't get rid of the smell," and they were fucking freaking the fuck out. So I had bought this brand. I brought over this brand new thing that had just been invented called Febreze, and we were trying to do everything, and they finally figured out they could light matches. And Clem fucking knew, but she's like, "What are you boys doing?"
Yeah.
And they were like, we were trying to light a candle." Why?
Yeah.
And throughout that time, I think a lot of what helped with like how good they got and how good we got at things, for the sake of not boasting, but like opportunities, because you had people in your life like you and Clem who were like, "No, you can do it, but like give it your fucking best, dude. Like don't quit." Yeah. And Corey is like that to you, as you know, you have, and many people have been for me, where there is no apex, right? You're just meeting new opportunities that you're like, okay, I'm here now, and then somebody or something gets put in your life, and you're like, fuck, dude. Okay, I gotta keep going.
Yeah, there's more.
There's more.
There's more, like a lot more. You know, and something that makes me think of is that Jiro Dreams of Sushi documentary.
Yeah.
You know, where like that dude is like 90 now or something, and he's like still trying to get better.
Yeah.
You know, like he's like, you know, I used to massage this octopus for 25 minutes a day.
Yeah.
You know, now I do it for 45. You know, and now I'm gonna do it for an hour. You know, it's just like it doesn't stop, and it shouldn't.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I think most people, including ourselves, you can't have that conversation until you've earned it, right? And that's the actual gist of it. But it sounds so cathartic to people, but you have to work your ass off to get to a point where you're like, man, I get to fucking learn forever, right? Like you're the guy in the Twilight Zone. There was time now, fucking everything, but you actually have this ability to be like, man, there's no end to how much I can learn,
right?
Because it seems daunting. That's the valley of despair. You know, you get to this thing of where it's like, fuck, dude, I'm just not getting good. I'm not getting there. And this is where the Kruger effect comes in, where it's like, man, I can do this for the rest of my life, and I fucking enjoy it. And I can enjoy it around people or things or stuff. And I feel like it in hindsight, a lot of people, which is I think the best part of having you on for this one, is there's a lot of people, especially in today's economy, the world is different. You know, the economy, the state of tattooing, the state of art, the state of influencers versus actual artisans is such a different dichotomy and a different demographic for people that you can't really tell what's fucking real or authentic anymore. People are now using, they just approved the first 3D printing tattoo machine, you know, and all this stuff. And, you know, I've had somebody ask, like, you know, do you worry about that? Worry about that? And I said, absolutely not, because when I was growing up, only 10 years apart from you, vinyl was the old man's game. Then here we are, and vinyl's back in droves because it's like, oh, you have physical media,
right?
You know, in that time,
and our record's like $30. You know?
Yeah, and now you're in a position. We are in a position where, as time moves on, the new generation, you know, when Pete has kids, they're gonna be that type to be like, you know what, fuck, did you get tattooed by a real fucking person? Yeah, dude. Because there's always this pride in taking something from the earth and being able to, like, wow, I have somebody who really put something into it. Yeah. And people are worried about, you know, am I going to have a job or this or that? Dude, I have suffered greatly for this craft. You have as well. We've gone through ups, downs, everything. But
herniated disc, tendonitis,
everything.
Tennis elbow.
And I think of that movie Fury, right? Like, best goddamn job I've ever had, sitting in that fucking tank when you're just like, this is it. Like, I fucking love what I do. And the balance of having to go from like a band and to tattooing and then to, you know, another passion, like what I think people should hear from you more than anything else before we end is What would you tell your younger self about trying to balance that and finding where you're at now onto the path of where you think you want to be? Because I think younger us is like, fuck, dude, I have to do a little bit of everything, but you kind of have to sacrifice a lot to just focus on that thing and build it before you can get to the next step.
Yeah, damn. You know, like, it's hard to say because, you know, I wouldn't want to change anything because
Right.
I like the result, you know,
Absolutely.
so I wouldn't want to, like, do that butterfly effect, you know, like fuck it up, you know.
You turn the goth like the fucking big guy in the movie.
Right,
Ashton Kutcher's like, no.
I'd just be like, hey, remember when you shaved your beard all weird? Like, don't do that, dude. Don't do that, dude.
But
You know, maybe that, you know, it'd be that way. Like, you know, that like spider web shirt you bought, fucking Hot Topic? Don't, dude. Your friends are gonna fucking make fun of you. You know, like it'd probably be more like shit like that, man. You know, remember that day you shit yourself? You shot yourself, dude?
Yeah, probably don't wear the white pants.
Yeah.
No,
Don't
but-
wear those white dickies, dude.
What was not what was, I'm sorry. What would be the thing that you would say to yourself not to worry about or what to focus more on? Not so much change, but like in
To
hindsight.
worry what people think, you know? Because, you know, like, you know, in this industry, we still get scrutinized as much as we think that it's accepted, you know? Like we still deal with scrutiny,
Yeah.
you know? And people, are, you know, say shit. And, you know, they've said stuff, you know? And, you know, and not just, like, tattooing, but, like, music, too, you know? Playing the music, you know, like, the weird punk rock stuff, you know? And, you know, like, being, you know, I'm not saying it's weird, it's just I've heard it,
Yeah.
you know? And, you know, like, I've been called the F word many times playing punk rock, and I was like, wow, what am I doing, man? Just playing music. I have a mohawk, you know. It's like, don't worry about that, you know.
Yeah.
I would say, like, don't worry about that shit, you know. Just steer clear, you know. When people see that you have a nice thing, some people want to shit on it,
Yeah.
you know. So you got to steer clear from those people, you know, because some people want to ruin nice things.
Yeah. If I could give myself younger advice, is that absolutely that, like, don't pay attention to the things. A friend once recently told me this, and I've never forgotten it. But never take critique from somebody that you would never take advice from, because
Right.
that person's intention is not always pure. But the other thing,
Yeah, it's like you know, don't take dating advice from someone you wouldn't want to fuck.
yeah, 100%. And I feel like the thing I would tell myself, because I did that same balancing act, you know, of trying to fit like the band life and this and that, and it just I created more chaos in trying to find my balance without considering others. Like I when I was playing with Los Drivers, we were working on a new album, and I had to go to Fresno, and my life got uprooted pretty severely. But I was so captivated with what the fuck was going on with me, and like I could not quit tattooing. I could not quit this. I didn't think about how that affected you guys. And I have, of course, apologized for doing that, because you're fucking dumb, but you still did it. And then a lot of other things that I took on, because I was like, I can handle it. I have the skill, but I didn't have the clarity and the foresight of how that would affect people. And I think what I would tell myself,
Yeah.
younger wise, is that, listen, man, you have a lot of options, and you have a lot of passion, but you have so little discipline between them that it's going to suffer. What do you want in life? Well, I want to fucking draw and paint. Like, I want to tell stories in the best beautiful way I possibly can on skin. Okay, then focus on that for the next 10 years. And while you do that, give yourself 1 hour a day of your other passions. So, like, right there on the floor, I practice on those drum pads every morning, 1 hour every day, and I've been doing that 15 years still. And my chops are fucking still where they're at. But that 1 hour feeds that thing in me that makes me love and miss it.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, all right, get back to this, because I was too busy trying to be like, I can juggle everything.
Yeah, like, it kind of like satiates you a bit, you know.
Yeah.
You know, like, that's how I am with like music, you know, like you know, I'll see like my guitar on the guitar stand. I'm like, I gotta fiddle around on it for a little bit. You know, I don't need to write something new. I don't need to do that. You know, I was doing solo acoustic stuff for a while. You know, I've played with like Chuck Reagan and stuff. You know, and Austin Lucas. You know, and that was cool. You know, like, we became friends and stuff, and got to play with them. And, you know, that was awesome. You know, but you know, I haven't done that for a while. But, you know, I'm still like picking my guitar up. You know, because it's my self care too.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, I love it. You know, it's part of my life. you know, and something I'll never let go, you know. But yeah, it's important to balance things out and do other stuff that you love to do, you know, and definitely don't burn yourself out on just one thing.
Yeah,
because as much as we love doing this, like, we can burn ourselves out.
Well, look at this place, right? Like, from your perspective, like, this is everything we grew up on. Well, I loved hearing you talk to Chris earlier about like Transformers and stuff, because it's us being us. It's us being kids.
Oh yeah, I love that stuff, man.
But
don't let this cool exterior fool you, man. I'm a nerd deep down inside, dude.
This puss hound was once a puppy.
Right.
But I mean, I fell into all this because it intertwines with each other, right? Like, musically, artistically, whatever the fuck. But, like, truthfully, I tell people all the time it's my ADHD, not like an excuse. It's like proven. Like, I will get bored of something very quick, so I have to do something to my peak of it, where I'm really giving my full attention, and then I know when I'm lapsing, and that's where I'm like, okay, I know I can push harder, but I can, like, during a tattoo, you're gonna hit a point where that first line you pull is the crispiest line. 4 hours into something, you may be starting to wander, so you take your break or whatever. But I know when I have to push past that in that tattoo, because I don't have an option.
Right.
But I think 21 days straight of tattooing, and like, I have no breaks, no mental health, no family time, that's when all of a sudden my actual work starts to teeter. So I learned to pull back from that and do something else. But in order for me to have that balance where I have it now, and I think where you have it, you do have to dedicate yourself to one thing that's going to be your main focus, because then the other ones are always going to be in your focus. But if you don't, it's not going to. You're always going to be taking steps versus leaps. Right. And in what we do, especially in a permanent format, you need to take leaps and risks on yourself with your studies. Yeah. You know, I'm never going.
What's that saying? Fortune favors the bold.
Yes, absolutely.
You know? Like, you just got to do it, you know? Like, like, take that risk, take that jump.
And like you said, don't always listen to people that are going to just shit on you.
Right. Because some people like to shit on a good thing.
Yes. Know? And the thing is understanding when people are trying to help you versus feeling that people are against you. Like, some people are going to tell you, hey, man, you're not fucking doing what you need to do. And you need to listen to that. If that person is doing what you want to do, and they're doing it in a way of like, I'm just trying to help, man. Versus the guy who's like, you're never going to do it. Right. And it's like,
and that could be, you know, that could be turned around and used as motivation. Like, I'm going to prove you wrong, motherfucker.
Yeah,
you
dude,
know?
That's been us our whole fucking lives.
You know, that might be, you know, that could be used as an indicator, like, oh, I'm doing the right thing because it's pissing this fucking person off.
Yeah, I mean, that's also the beauty of pettiness. But I feel like if you're really going to do something with yourself, give a shit about it. To where it shows. Like, I want to see you love something more than I want to hear about it. Yeah. Because if I see it, then I know it's real. If I hear about it,
you're like, it's beautiful.
I know.
It's like watching a fucking fawn being fucking born. You're like, it's beautiful.
Good God.
So I just want to pet it.
Real quick, brother. First and foremost, man, I love you, brother, and
I love you too, man.
And thank you for fucking taking the time, not only with you and your beautiful fiance or wife,
a girlfriend.
I thought you
partner,
but with your beautiful girlfriend for coming in, and she was very kind and lovely, dude. But thank you.
Awesome. I love her.
Thank you for taking the time to come out.
Dude,
and hang
thank
out
you
with
for
us.
having me. I've been wanting to do this for a while, and I don't, you know, I love you. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of what you've done and what you're doing.
Thank you.
You know, and you know, I'm awesome to just. I'm just so fucking stoked that, like, we're in each other's lives.
100%.
You know, like, you're family to me, dude.
Same here, man.
You know,
you all heard that, so I about this loan I need. No, dude, I am immensely proud of you, and throughout the years, I would not be the man I am today if it was not for someone like you, where you saw the good and the bad that I went through, and I created myself, like, just being a fucking dumb kid, and you never gave up on me, man.
No, because I know, like, you have the, you know, I knew that you had the means, you know, to pull out of it, you know, like, you got the touch, you got the power, you know, like, you know, I believed in you, you know, and it's like, I'll be here, you know, like, you know, there's been times, you know, throughout our lives where, like, we you know, did things
Yeah.
and didn't see each other for a while, we always came back. You know,
Yeah.
and you know, every time, you know, we're like in this new path.
Yeah.
You know, and not just new path, but like just
Growth.
yeah,
Yeah.
this new growth, and it's awesome. You know, I'm just like fuck yeah, like
Yeah.
I knew it. You know, like I knew it. You know,
And it's the same thing for you, man. I'm immensely fucking proud of you through
thank you, man.
the years I've seen you. Not just like you don't just help people. Like, for somebody who helps out special needs people, you picked a pretty good special needs guy. But no, like you've always had a tremendous heart on how you want to help people. You've always had a fucking killer work ethic. Like in my honest opinion, like you're in the top 5 of people that I know for work ethic and conviction and honesty. Where you're like, you know what, dude? If I ain't fucking shit, I'm gonna work on doing it better. And you next to Mike and you know, 2 of my other friends / mentors that I consider family as well, dude. Like I would not be where I'm at if it wasn't being around people like you who are like, cool. I don't want to hear you love it. Okay,
Yeah,
I want to see it.
Yeah.
You know, and even in music, we hear things, but like you can tell. And so, dude, thank you, and I love you, and I'm proud of you, and
Thank
I can't
you, and
wait
I
to
love
see
you, man.
I can't wait to see where you go with it. Where can people find you? What do you have coming up? And if you want anyone to know anything, what do you want?
I'm on the Instagram. You know, the Eddie's Zavala art with an E at the end because it's Spanish. It's arte. Soy Eduardo. And you know, that's an easy way to reach me. You know, you know, I haven't done any conventions lately. This is like the first gas spot I've done in a while. You know, and it like lit something under me. You know, like I want to do it a bit more frequent. It's a lot easier now. You know, being a co-owner of a shop. You know, where I just go like, I'm taking off.
Yeah,
you know,
later, motherfucker.
you know, it's all good. You know. You know, and you know, getting ready to do a reunion show with the fellas.
Yes,
you know,
of course,
May
I
4th at the Blue Lagoon in Santa Cruz. You know, and then another one on August 17th, I believe, in Salinas with Psychosomatic.
Hey.
Yeah.
All right.
And that's gonna be awesome. You know.
Nice. Is there any other things that you want to say or do before we close it out?
Well, just anyone you know that's you know, listening and stuff. You know, it's like you know, going back to that intent. Just have the right intent. Have that good intent for yourself. You know. Also, most importantly, you know, like you know, in what you do. You know, do it because it's good and it's right, and you know, just work your ass off.
Nice. Okay, so that is it for this week's edition of the Brushes of Doom podcast, also known as the BODP. We will go ahead and put everything else up, and by we I mean me. I'll put it on the website if you want to find anything from Eddie, if you want to see his links, the shop, anything you want to book with him, you want to go and see his shows of those dry heavers in Santa Cruz or in Salinas, California, please go and support it. Say hi to him, because I know there's a lot of you out there who listen and you write in and you're very fucking kind about just how much you look forward to this. Like, if you want to know what makes me tick, this is the dude right here, and you can learn so much more. Not just from speaking to somebody, but from collecting. Like, you need to absolutely collect from somebody if you want to get to your next step, as we did back in the day. And this is the guy. So go to BrushesofDoom.com to go and see all Eddie's links. Eddie Zavala.arte on Instagram, and we will see you soon.
Right on. Love you.
Love you too, brother.
Oh, my ears.